Hello and welcome to another Energon universe discussion video. Today we're going to take a brief look at some of the recent previews that have dropped, specifically for Transformers number 2, Duke number 1, and Cobra Commander number 1. And before we get started, I just want to say I know there's been a lot of Energon universe content on this channel lately, but I promise the next video is part 4 of the IDW retrospective. Those retrospectives take a ton of time to make, something I had very little of in August and September, so these shorter, more off-the-cuff videos helped ensure I was putting out something during that time. But now that things have hopefully calmed down, I'll be getting back to the IDW stuff. Thank you for your patience and understanding, and keep an eye out for the next video coming sometime soon. I'll probably post something when it's imminent. So let's get this show on the road. I'm not going to be breaking these previews down beat by beat or anything like that. I'm mostly going to be pointing out things that stood out to me. So let's start with Duke number 1, because I don't think there's all that much to talk about here, which is not a dig at the book itself. I actually think it looks quite nice. I really like the artwork here and the almost Ben-Day Dots-esque approach to coloring the flashback sequences. I'm curious to see what's behind Duke's change in attitude and outlook, his insubordination, as well as how he's just going to fit into the Energon universe in general. We see Hawk, or at least his nameplate and hands. Falcon is alluded to, and we learn that Duke is needed, no doubt in response to the threat posed by the invading Cybertronians. I'm looking forward to the series, but it's just not the most exciting preview to me anyway. I just don't see that there's a lot to talk about here, so let's move on to the preview for Transformers number 2. Thanks to this particular preview, we know that Cliffjumper is the next Autobot to be revived, and it looks like Wheeljack is up after him, although I can't help but wonder if the Orlando Arocena variant cover is revealing that RC will make an appearance in this issue. Maybe not. There was a variant cover that had her on issue number 1. She obviously didn't show up there, but still, I wonder. I'm very curious to see how Johnson writes her in, and whether or not she was aboard the Ark or if she'll arrive independently. And if so, what's the story there? I don't know. Time will tell. In any case, we see the G1 toy gimmick of Prime's trailer put to good use here, being used to revive the Autobots, specifically Wheeljack. And speaking of the Autobots, I see more of them strewn about here. I spy Prowl, Brawn, Ironhide, Jazz, and what looks to be Sideswipe, miscolored in Breakdown's color scheme. Kind of weird. We also get some neat little touches like Carly asking Cliffjumper, "Do I look like I can squish you?" Which definitely feels relevant after the end of the first issue. We also see that Carly realizes what it was that was missing from the art on the side of her van, as we see her beginning to airbrush in Optimus Prime. The other thing that's of note here is that Optimus, yet again, wants to use the Matrix to revive the fallen Autobots, and Ratchet again stops him, this time giving us a little bit more info about the Matrix, namely that its power is connected with Prime's life force, so presumably if he uses up all the Matrix energy, it could potentially kill him. And maybe it's just me, but I feel like they're really building up to something with the Matrix here. It seems like they really want us to know it's there as they keep bringing it up. And it's a little comical how quickly Optimus is willing to try and use it to solve any problem, but that's neither here nor there. It feels way too early for Optimus to sacrifice himself in Johnson's fairly short 6-issue arc that's meant to kick off an entirely new continuity, but it's also hard not to read this as potentially planting seeds for something like that, since we've already seen that this particular Optimus is more than willing to put himself in harm's way, or potentially even sacrifice himself for the greater good. Plus, Ratchet just lays it all out there, stating the risk is too great. If we lose you, we lose everything. Which, writing like that is usually softening the ground for said event to eventually occur, but who knows? I might be misreading this. They might just be messing with us. We'll just have to see how it all shakes out. But those are the main things that stood out to me for Transformers number 2, so now let's talk Cobra Commander number 1. This is kind of the most exciting one out of this batch of previews, because obviously the big thing that I want to talk about here is what happens in the second to last page of the preview, where Cobra Commander attempts to commandeer a man's vehicle that, of course, is reminiscent of a HISS tank. But anyway, Cobra Commander pulls out a weapon of some kind, and the man dies a horrible, bloody death off panel. I guess, first of all, this is kind of a confirmation that a similar degree of violence that we saw in Transformers number 1 will also be present on the G.I. Joe side of things. It's not gory per se, and I'm certainly not bothered by it. I think everything we've seen so far has been pretty tame in all honesty, as most of the violence happens off panel, but it seems like there will definitely be some blood and death in this continuity, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It means higher stakes, more of an impact. We'll just have to see how it's used. But this particular bloody death may be more significant. Prior to being killed, the man asks Cobra Commander what he has in his hands and if it's some kind of a toy. We never actually see the object in question. We just get this sound effect, which, sure, yeah, it could be the device powering up, but it seems more like a transformation sound effect to me. I'm sure I'm not the first person to put this out there, but what if this was Megatron that killed this guy? Maybe this was super obvious to everyone else, but for me, at least, I know I didn't notice until the second time I looked over the preview. And look, I'm not super deep into G.I. Joe lore, so maybe there's some kind of device in the fiction that, I don't know, relieves a person of all of their blood. And if so, then this theory is totally sunk. But I feel like if it was a weapon of some kind, then they would have just shown it to us and then cut away for the man's death. Why keep it a secret? And there's the fact that this man deliberately asks if it's some kind of toy, which, I don't know, seems a little tongue-in-cheek to me. Now, it could also be some kind of Cybertronian tech that Cobra has converted into a weapon, which, I mean, sure, maybe, I don't know. It's possible, but it does seem a little less exciting for me personally. Now, Megatron, that would be a reveal. So yeah, I'm thinking possibly this is Megatron, and he pulled a Starscream from issue number 1 and squished the dude, either with his hands or by stepping on him. Or at least, you know, that's one possibility. It might not be Megatron. It could be another character altogether. I definitely think it's a Transformer or Transformer related though, based on the sound effect. Megatron just seems a likely candidate since he's MIA so far, other than appearing to be in gun form in Cobra Commander's hand on the standard cover to issue number 1. And if this pans out to be true, there's still a lot of questions. I mean, I specifically would want to know if Megatron is in control of himself or being controlled, which I really hope it's the former. How cool would it be if Megatron and Cobra Commander were working together from the start to create Cobra? I would definitely be into that. And anyway, who knows? I could be proven completely wrong, but that's where I'm at right now with this preview. There are, however, a couple of other minor things worth pointing out. One is that the blurb on Skybound's website notes that Duke and Cobra Commander comprise 2 of 4 G.I. Joe miniseries, which is news to me, so it looks like we've got 2 more in the pipeline that haven't been revealed yet. Another thing that's worth pointing out is that we finally see the logo for this issue, and I love it. It's very evocative of the classic Transformers logo, isn't it? There are definitely some minor changes. It's not exact, but yeah, it's very much in the spirit of the old Marvel Comics logo. It's very eye-catching, and I'm glad that they went this route. Although I don't know why they don't use the classic logos for the Transformers title itself, as I've always thought they were more effective than the more bland one that they've been using over the last few years. But I'm just some guy who likes robots, not some marketing mastermind, so what do I know? So yeah, those are the recent Energon Universe previews. That's all I've got for now. Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Hit that thumbs up button if you liked the video, and let me know what you think of these previews, as well as my theories that may end up being potentially embarrassing if they turn out to really miss the mark. And like I said earlier, keep your eyes peeled for the next IDW retrospective video. It's coming soon, and take care.